Before 1927, movies made no sound. There were no voices coming from the screen, no conversations, and no sound effects. Instead, actors relied on exaggerated facial expressions, gestures, and title cards to tell the story. In theaters, a live orchestra played music to match the mood of the film. Because there was no dialogue to listen for, audiences were often loud. People talked during the scenes, reacted openly, and acted as if the theater was a party. But in 1927, that changed forever. On October 6, 1927, a film was released by Warner Brothers called The Jazz Singer. This turned out to be what we call the Talkie Revolution. Al Jolson starred in The Jazz Singer as Jackie Rabinowitz, a young man who goes against his family traditions to pursue a career as a jazz singer. The music you've been hearing in the background is a clip from The Jazz Singer. Jakie's father is a cantor, and he wants Jackie to follow in his footsteps. Jackie is seen going against his father's wishes and singing in public for money. While in public, Jackie used blackface to fit in with the other jazz performers of his time. This was a common practice back then and wasn't as offensive as it would be today. What makes it even worse for Jackie's dad? Jackie is singing jazz instead of sacred music. Jackie singing this music isn't just disobedience. He's rejecting 5 generations of religious tradition. While much of the film still used silent film techniques and title cards, it showed something audiences have never experienced before in a feature-length movie: synchronized sound. Using a system called Vitaphone, sound was recorded onto large discs that played in sync with the film projector. For the time, the audience didn't only see the actors move, they heard them speaking and singing.
That's what they say, but to me, he's an angel of a joy. Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you, you ain't heard nothing. You want to hear Tootsie? All right, hold on.
That line wasn't just dialogue, it was a promise. Hearing Al Jolson speak to the crowd made the performance sound alive. The revolution wasn't easy though, it came with consequences. Multiple studios rushed to convert their stages for sound production. Cameras had to be placed inside soundproof booths because they were too loud. Actors who made their careers on expensive physical performance suddenly had to master clear speech and strong vocal delivery. Some silent film stars successfully changed to the sound era. Others, whose voices didn't match their image shown on screen, saw their careers fade almost instantly. Even audiences had to change. Theaters became quiet and viewers now had to listen carefully to understand the story. The movie watching experience shifted from a loud social gathering to a focused event. Within just a few years, silent films were basically extinct. The Jazz Singer transformed Hollywood, changed storytelling forever, and launched a revolution that changed modern cinema. Audiences truly hadn't heard nothing yet. Watching silent films was more like a party than a movie is nowadays. It was much louder. Audiences cheered, gasped, and laughed, and even talked back to the screen as the movie unfolded. Silent films were very lively. It was like watching a show with your friends. With no dialogue, people all across the United States could enjoy the films even if they didn't speak English. Immigrants and non-English speakers followed the plot by the visuals, bringing a shared experience to audiences with different cultures. Audiences really appreciated the incredible physical skill and talent silent film actors held. Without words, actors relied on exaggerated movement, different facial expressions, and good timing to show emotion and story. The movie may be silent, but the audience made plenty of sound. The shift from silent films to talkies brought a huge change, but not everyone could stay. Silent film stars began to disappear. Acting in a silent film required exaggerated movement, but talkies demanded clear speech and a strong voice. Lots of actors couldn't adjust, and their careers didn't work out. Actors weren't the only thing that faced challenges, movie theaters did too. Silent films required a screen and live musicians. Talkies needed sound systems. Lower-end theaters struggled to upgrade to using expensive sound systems, meaning talkies couldn't be shown everywhere right away. When sound became standard, movies changed too. Dialogue was needed and films became more structured. Telling stories visually became less important when words carried more of the story. Silent films were universal. Anyone could understand them. Language barriers meant audiences had to use subtitles, dubbing, or translations. Theater behavior was different too. Audiences who talked, reacted loudly, and shouted at the screen now had to remain silent to understand dialogue. Viewers became quieter and more controlled, a rule that still exists today. One silent film star, however, did adapt on his own terms: Charlie Chaplin. Known for being a star in silent films like City Lights and The Gold Rush, Chaplin finally embraced sound in The Great Dictator. Instead of using sound for jokes, they used it for the story. He had a famous speech in this movie, and it proved that sound is powerful.
To make this life a wonderful adventure, then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world.
The talkie revolution didn't just change movies, it redefined cinema as we know it today. The invention of sound and film changed movies and how people reacted to them forever. Silent films required movement and imagination. Talkies introduced dialogue and realism. Some actors were lost and some actors stayed with us. When Al Jolson said, "You ain't heard nothing yet," it wasn't just a line in his movie. It was a promise. A promise that movies were entering a new time. Every song and sound in a film proves that he was right.